Hi, I'm Eric Hollenbeck, Director of Percussion Studies at Colorado State University. I'm talking about the Colorado All-State Band Percussion Auditions. This is the Mallet Etude for the 2025-26 year. This is basically the Gigue by J.S. Bach. This is partita number 3. And we are just looking at doing the first part of it. Generally, these Gigues by Bach from the partitas, which were originally written for violin, are in 2 parts. You get an A and a B, and we're just required to do the A. The tempo that was requested is around dotted quarter equals 74, which is fairly fast. And if you listen to any of the violin renditions of it, it's about 74, which means that a typical Gigue that you're going to feel this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Gigues are basically originally an English jig, J-I-G, and then it became really popular in France and Germany in the Baroque period in the 18th century. And Bach really almost always in his suites ended with Gigues. So as you get this, there needs to be the faster, more technical movement of the suite. So this one needs to be probably somewhere between 70 and 74. If you can get it to 74, that's great. You need to make sure that we feel that dotted quarter as you play 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Even the first 4 notes of it, that part, you want to make sure that the downbeat, the G sharp, right here gets the emphasis there. So you're not playing, but you're playing. And that way, that sets up this tempo to kind of feel things. As you play it, you want to make sure that you are feeling the dotted quarter through all these licks, like so, that you're feeling kind of that overall pulse of the dotted quarter. There's a couple places, like when we look at the first 1, 2, 3, 4, in particular, the 5th and 6th bar, which are exactly the same. When you repeat something in the Baroque period, you're going to use what's called terrace dynamics, which means that the repeat of it is going to be immediately softer, and then you're going to come back up at the end of it. On the 3rd line, when we get to the D sharp, F sharp, this part, it's basically sequential in nature, starting on the 2nd bar of the 3rd line. And you'll notice that it is basically stepping downwards. So we start on B and then A sharp, then moving to G sharp, and then eventually moving down to F sharp. As it progresses through there, you want to kind of either crescendo or decrescendo. Meanwhile, each bar has a phrase to it. So you get this micro phrase, and then the longer 3 or 4 bar phrase, which is either crescendoing or decrescendo. So we have a micro phrase and a macro phrase happening at the same time. At the end, you want to slow down probably a little more than you would if you played the entire thing, because it is the final part of it. Makes it feel a little more resolute at the end. Generally, it is in E major, and typically in the 2-part piece like this by Bach, he's almost always going to end in the dominant key. So it starts in E and ends in B major. So you want to practice your E major scales. In green scales, you want to practice those quite a bit, and same with B major. You want to practice those to be really fluent on them. The other thing is E major arpeggios happen quite a bit. Same thing with B major arpeggios, and D major arpeggios happen quite often through the piece. I only double in a few places, as you can see, but a lot of what I'm doing is alternating. When you alternate using the middle of the bars, I wouldn't use the edge too much on this one, but pretty much the middle of the bars. When you alternate, you're going to be able to get out of the way. There's several times where you have to kind of do this rather than double, but getting out of the way, or swiping as we call it, is going to happen quite often in E major in this piece. So anyways, this is probably the most expressive of what you have of the snare drum and the timpani. So I would take a little bit more liberty than you would, but generally it needs to stay about 74. A really good rendition is to look at the violinist play it. And you'll notice that is not exactly metronomic. Like, they tend to push and pull things like this rhythm, that they tend to compress just a little bit on the first two 16th notes, which gives it a little more emphasis towards 1 or 4 is what we're looking for. So anyways, try and, as you play, use your wrist and try and pull out. Try not to push in too much. Find a mallet that isn't too bright, and that way it has a little more warmth, and making sure you're playing in the correct part of the instrument. So anyways, have fun with this and be expressive.